Hello everybody, Razorblade Mango here. First of all, I want to apologize for the abrupt lack of a stream last Sunday. Some very last minute things came up, and by the time I got home, it was pretty late, and I was really tired, so I decided, when I found out the news of what I had to do, that I wanted to just cancel the stream for that day. So I'm very sorry about that. There won't be a stream on Sunday. However, I'm going to do my very best to see if I can do one on Saturday, because this upcoming weekend is my birthday. So I'll see what I can do. I obviously want to keep going with Final Fantasy VII, but life sometimes does get in the way, which is unfortunate. But last Sunday was one of those cases. But I still want to apologize because I know how much some of you look forward to those streams and enjoy watching me play them, which is great. So, this is a game that I've been really looking forward to talking about for the last week. And I've kind of debated in my head whether I actually wanted to talk about it or not, because a lot of this game almost requires you to go into it not knowing what's going to happen. So much of this game, and why I love it so much, revolves around surprise and discovery. But I wanted to throw up a quick video about it anyway, because it is a very special game to me. And it is What Remains of Edith Finch, which is developed by Giant Sparrow, who are the guys behind The Unfinished Swan, which was a pretty good game, in my opinion. I think I'm someone who was less impressed by it than the majority of others. And published initially by Sony Interactive Entertainment, but this game kind of disappeared for a long time and reemerged during PlayStation Experience, where they revealed that they're now being published. It was now being published by Annapurna Interactive, and the story was, from what I understood from talking to the people at, I actually got to meet the creative director of the game. I think I got to meet Ian Dallas at PlayStation Experience, and I talked to them about, what had happened since the game was announced, because this game really went quiet for a long time, and what happened was, some of the people that initially signed this project to Sony left PlayStation to go form Annapurna Interactive. So Giant Sparrow wanted to move on from having Sony as the publisher to Annapurna Interactive, because they wanted to stick with the same people. And from what I've heard, Sony was gracious enough to let them out and reacquire the rights to their IP in order to bring it to Annapurna Interactive. Now, I'm not 100% sure that's the 100% factual story, but that is basically the gist of it. But it's finally out. I think I first heard about this game back in 2014 at PlayStation's Gamescom, the one where they revealed the legendary PT, and among other things that have yet to come out. And this was one of the ones that really grabbed my attention, because they described it as a very grim, Lovecraftian exploration game, where it's like a collection of short stories, and that really is a great way to describe it. But what I wasn't prepared for going into this was probably the most thought-provoking, deep game I have maybe ever played. If you followed me on Twitter, I've made no secret of my love for this game. In fact, when I first played it, I'm not ashamed to admit that I quite literally cried during the ending. I'm not going to explain why or how, because I think I want to do a spoiler video for this one, and I want to do it with a friend of mine, Mario, who also has been on the show before. He's the one who did the Horizon spoiler cast with me, so I want to do this with him whenever he's available, whenever he gets to play the rest of it. But for now, I'm playing this live, and I rarely ever do this, but let's dive into what remains of Edith Finch. So, as you can see, this is running on PC, runs at a very nice 60 frames per second, and right away we have very interesting little opening. And the voice that we hear throughout most of the game is from Edith herself. And again, I'm not going to spoil what's going on or any of the big stuff that happens later, because most of the reviewers have done a good job doing that already. But this is a game that really surprised me in terms of how involving it is. And this is a game, yes, this is a game that is a walking simulator, I want to use the derogatory term, because it's an interesting genre for me, because I don't like using that term. However, it's a term I feel like these kind of games wholly deserve when they actually don't put in a lot of effort to make the player feel all that involved in this world. And that's a damn shame, because on paper this sounds like a genre that I could really love. It's just a, narrative focused and interactive game with no puzzles, and you're just following a story. And that sounds right up my alley. But the problem with a lot of these games is that they fuck up in a couple key ways. They go either, we're going to make it so alienating to where you're just walking around and listening to other people talk. Stuff like Dear Esther, which I think is it may have been, the seed that sprouted this tree of this genre, but it's so boring. I don't understand how anyone could enjoy Dear Esther. Same with stuff like Gone Home, which I am not a fan of Gone Home. In fact, I have a video of me playing Gone Home for like an hour, and I laugh at how bad the ending is. It's terrible. But and then you have another problem, where the story itself is just not well written, which is a problem that Firewatch had, which is a problem that The Vanishing of Ethan Carter had, is that both games had interesting subject matter, really interesting stuff, and just couldn't do it because the writing wasn't particularly good with the storytelling, and it just fell apart. Firewatch is the most notable case of that, because that was a game I was really looking forward to, and I thought was going to be the one that finally really blew me away in terms of a walking simulator that I could get into. And turns out all I had to do was wait 1 year later, and I get What Remains of Edith Finch, which, like I said, is finally the one that really blew me away, and blew me away so much that I now consider it. This is like my 4th time playing through it, and I think it is one of the greatest games I have ever played. I would be very surprised if another game topped it as my number 1 of the year. I'm just gonna say that right now. But yeah, I'm trying to come up with reasons why I love this game so much without going into specifics and spoiler territory, because like I said, so much of what makes this game great relies on surprise. So I'm only going to show you the first story of this game, and that pretty much gives you an idea of how different this game is compared to the others, a lot of the others out there. And to me, so much of this game just blows away a lot of the other games in its genre, every game in its genre. I think this is a game that's going to send shock waves throughout the industry in terms of how to do this, because this is the one. For starters, one of the reasons why this is so effective is because you are playing a character who actually is, a character. she is a member of this family that the story is about. And something so simple like that can actually provide so much more investment into the world, into the story, that like a lot of other games where you're just a glorified camera person really don't. Because, when you just are walking around with a camera strapped to your head, like dear dear Esther, and Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, and there's a couple other ones, Vanishing of Ethan Carter, um, then it's not particularly involving when you're just walking around seeing other people's stories. It's not fun. But here you are actually a character. You're an important character in this world, and you actually have a motivation for being here, because it's like your mom died and she gave you a key to the old house that you left for a reason that I will not at all spoil in this video. But it's this driving narrative, like this sense of mystery and discovery as to like what secrets are inside this house that really make it feel, alive and involving, which is great. And it's something so small, and yet so many walking simulators just don't do it. But this is one that does it, and I love it for that. Also, I think another big selling point of this game is the house itself, which the house is, like, as you can tell, and I'm playing this live, just talking right now, so it looks lived in. This is like an example of a game that it's not like some giant open world game that has like thousands of outposts and thousands of characters and stuff like that. It's a small environment, and yet because it's so small, all of its details can be consistently spaced, and it feels lived in. Like, it's a house that feels like alive. It's like what I look for in game environments. And again, I don't want to show how like crazy this rabbit hole gets in terms of what is in this house, but you will get a sense with what I will show you today, and we'll talk about later. So, basically the gist of this game is you are the last living member of this Finch family, and this Finch family has, like a curse. Not like a literal curse, but it's implied that, they are cursed with their family members dying way too young, like suffering really tragic deaths at a young age. And you are the last living member of this family, and you get to come back to this house and explore why. So whenever a relative would die, their rooms would be sealed up like this, because the mom of the family, your character's mom, did not even want to think about them after they died. So you're stuck living in this house with all these sealed up rooms. And now that your mom has passed away, in her will, she left you this key, and she wants you to go back to this house and discover it yourself. So this is one of the cool things about the game that I really like. This little bit right here, where it's like this strange house that has all these like really weird secrets to it, and you don't normally see this kind of stuff in games, but it's so cool that like someone thought of this. And I love the way that Giant Sparrow has like meticulously paced your exploration of this house and all like the weird secrets that it has, and it makes geographic sense when you look at it. It's awesome. It's just cool. And alright, so here is the only story I will show, like, in its entirety. I'm not going to show, once I'm done with this, I'm not going to show any of the other ones. So basically what you do in this game is you go from room to room, and you try to discover how each member of this family died. Some of them, and another cool thing about this game is that some of them have this like tinge of dark comedy to them. Some of them are really heartbreaking and sad. Some of them are just really fucking disturbing. I'm not gonna say which ones are really disturbing, which ones are really sad, which ones are kind of darkly funny, but it keeps like a changing tone, which is good because in a lot of big problem with these walking simulators is that they don't like to change tone. They just stick with the same thing over and over and over again with this like morose, dour tone to it, and it sucks a lot of the time because it gets boring. It gets stale after a while. But this is a game that consistently surprises you with, and not only like changing perspective like this, because now you're playing as Molly, the character that Edith is reading about, but now it's a completely new kind of thing, and I will show you. If you haven't seen this yet, if you haven't been spoiled by it, good. You're in for something really cool. But this was actually the bit at PlayStation experience that I played, and right away when I played it, I knew that this was going to be something special, and I was oddly fascinated by what I was watching. But this is tame compared to the stuff that comes later. I cannot stress how tame this story is compared to the really weird stuff that comes later. And oh god, I want to talk about specifics so bad, but I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna be good, and I'm gonna save it for some other time. All I will say though, in terms of this game, is that it made me think about my own impending death. And I must admit, like, I have thought about death more at this age. Like, I'm gonna be like in my mid-20s. Well, I am in my mid-20s, but I think about death more and more. And I don't mean to go all of a sudden like a fucking emo on you guys, but it's a fact of life that, death is a great unknown. Death can be a scary thing, and there are nights when I do just wake up and think, oh god, I'm going to die one day, and all the people that I love are going to die, and I will be alone one of these days. Maybe. I don't know. And that scares me. And what Edith Finch managed to do is present death in a way that I found strangely comforting. Like, that's the cool thing about this game, is that it presents death in a way that, at first seems really like sad and tragic. And yes, death can be sad and it can hurt a lot, especially when like people you love die. And here's the bit where where I'm an owl now. But it made me think about it in a way that I'll get into specifics in another video, but it made me think about death in this really comforting way, and I loved that. Like, it brought so much out of me. Like, I don't think I've ever had a game speak to me like so personally in terms of what I am feeling at the time, that I was just shocked. And initially, I was overwhelmed by what I played, to the point where, like I said, I literally was crying at the end when I realized what this game was doing. And I think it is a marvelous game. But that's all I'll say in terms of the thematic stuff. Because in order to get any further, I do have to talk about the ending. I do have to talk about some of the other stuff, which I don't want to do, because I want you guys to go out and play it, because it is, like, even if walking simulators aren't your thing, if you like if you just go ugh whenever someone tells you it's a walking simulator or it's an interactive drama, this is one that I think even a lot of the people that dislike this genre might really get into, just because of how inventive and strange and just plain entertaining it is. Like I apologize if I make this game sound like morose and depressing and dark, but it can be those things, but I cannot stress how entertaining this game is as well. Like, even though you're not really like doing anything like huge, you're not going out and saving the world, you're just walking around this house and experiencing these stories, and some of these stories get fucking bizarre and get like incredible and sad and funny at times. Like, it's so I it's fun. It's a fun game to play because it constantly surprises you with what it has around every corner. Like, look at this shit. You start out as a little girl, and then you become a cat, and then you become an owl, and then you become a shark, and now you're this like weird tentacle monster. That's the kind of variety that you can expect in this game. And like I said, this is tame. This is so mild compared to what comes later. And I love it. I fucking love it. Love this game. And particularly after like 2 disappointments like Yooka-Laylee and Outlast 2, this is one where I was like, oh my god, I think I love this. And I didn't realize it until the very end. And the very end is what like sealed the deal for me. This was just like but a mere or tiny hors d'oeuvre to like the things that would come later. And I'm glad that they only show this part off at PlayStation Experience. And they actually like revealed one of the best story in the game in one of their previews. And that pissed me off when I found out how far into the game that preview was. I was like, really? Really, guys? You're going to show off the best story in this game? Come on. Are you kidding me? So, yeah, I'm just going to chat shit until this bit is over. But yeah, I fucking love this game. I haven't been this impressed with a game since Titanfall 2. And I don't think... Here's the thing, like, I don't think it's as amazing as Titanfall 2, or, like, Witcher 3, or even Bloodborne, anything like that. But I say this without any kind of... Oh, whoops, wrong way. I say this without any kind of hesitation. This is the most personally affecting game I have ever played. And this is coming from someone who has played every single Kingdom Hearts game, who loves the series to death, who's, you know, one of the big things on this channel is that I love Kingdom Hearts, is that this made me think, feel, and like personally relate to this more than any Kingdom Hearts game ever. I'll just put that out to just emphasize how much this game means to me. And this is a story as well. I forgot to mention this, is that sometimes they don't outright tell you what happened to the Finches, like in reality. They conceal it in like this very mythological tone, and it leaves it kind of ambiguous. And that's cool as well. Like, I don't need how each family member died spoon-fed to me. In fact, like, the implications of how they died is more disturbing than like actually finding out how they died. And you don't find out, and quite a few of them you don't specifically find out how they died. Some of them are pretty obvious, others are not, which is great, and that leaves room for interpretation, which is always nice in the game. So this is a little girl that died because a monster she went into her room and ate her. And she's just perfectly fine with that. She's just willing to accept it. And she even writes in this nice little journal, "I will be delicious." And that's when I knew the game was going to interest me, when I played it at PlayStation Experience. When I read that, when I played through this bit, I was like, okay, this game is going to be something. Cool. So that's Molly. And I don't like how on repeats it doesn't let you gray out the bits in the book, because one of the cool things about the game is it like fills it in when you play it for the first time. I think might be a way to stop that, but I don't like that. I don't like that it has it all automatically in there. But here you go. We hop out. That was Molly's story. And like I said, fucking weird, but tame compared to what happens next. And yeah, I think I'll stop here before I encounter the next room, because this is a game that is best experienced on your own. So, anywho, thank you everyone for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe. Please go out and buy this game. It is an amazing game. I think even people that, like I said, even people that don't like walking simulators, I think will really fucking get into this. And that's all I can ask for. Is just give it a shot. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Have a good one, everyone. Take care.